right, everybody, I am here with another episode of Chamber Chat. I got a special guest in the car today. I'm going to let her introduce herself and we'll kick it up from there.
Hello, my name is Adrienne Fritze, and I own a company with my husband called Remarkable Arts, and we just launched a brand new business, Conundrum House, which I'm very excited about. I've waited for about 30 years to do this business.
30 years?
30 years. I wrote my very first murder mystery live-action role-playing dinner party about 30 years ago.
How was it? If you went back now.
It was great. We're still using it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've updated it a bit, but it was pretty solid. Yeah, and now
Nice.
we have alternate endings. So if you come to one party, you may not be the murderer anymore. You could,
You could be the murdered.
you could be the
You could be
murdered.
the
People
victim.
do die in this one. It's really awesome.
So we've kind of obviously alluded to what it is, but in a nutshell, if you show up at Conundrum House, what should you expect?
Well, there's two things to expect. One is we have a game room, so we have tabletop games, role-playing games, RPGs. You could be on Sherlock Holmes' team, or if you're just like old school and you want to do some Clue, we got a variety of Clue games.
But it's where people participate. It's not you're playing the board game or anything.
Well, no, you do. Well, people always participate in a board game.
All right. I phrase that wrong. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Yeah.
So that is the board game aspect of what we do. The other aspect is the live action experiences,
Right.
which are the dinner parties. We were just talking about the criminal cases that we go in and teams go in to do forensic work with real forensic tools and real blood and real hair and real fingerprints. And then also the questioning, interviewing, and then preparing a case for the DA to take to court.
Which is
So,
kind of cool.
it's like massively cool.
I didn't realize until obviously we just started before we got into the car that some of these are better. I thought you made them all up.
No, we carry a whole bunch of different games and titles from all over the world. The other thing that we have that no other game room in Corvallis has is serial mysteries, and so they come in.
Not the type you eat.
Not the type you eat, although if you're a cannibal, ooh.
Would you have milk with that?
Maybe
I don't know if eating a human
on a farm.
with milk.
Human with milk.
What? Why do people do this in this town?
Or would it be teriyaki? Because it's Corvallis.
I'm driving a car. Don't go across like that fast without looking.
This is also where all the students are at, too,
Yes.
you know?
And as I have mentioned in a couple of chamber chats, I nearly hit a student like 2 or 3 chamber chats ago.
Oh, nice.
It's fine. It was fine. I didn't, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, it is.
So
fine.
back to the mystery. Sorry, sidebar there.
And away from cannibals.
Yes, exactly.
So these serial mysteries, you come in time after time to do it. You have to figure out the first chapter before you can go to the second, etc.
Right.
And we have short ones, just 2 chapters. We have other ones that are 8 chapters. And then we have really special ones. Those are the $100, couple $100 ones.
Yeah.
Where you can only do them in the room. And they are created by an artist and writer out of New Orleans called Lady Delaney. And the newest one that's coming, it'll be here this week actually, I'm so excited, is a recreated murder scene out of a dollhouse. So you build the dollhouse, it's a paper dollhouse, and it's got all the furniture, and
Really?
it's got the crime scene in there, it's got the murder weapon. Yeah. So, I mean, we're talking a variety of experiences.
So these are also experiences that don't take 10 minutes either.
No.
Right? If you go to the Conundrum House, you're there for a little while. It's an experience, which is cool because that's something actually we've talked about just sort of business-wise, like when we did the Your Downtown Corvallis, what's the next thing? People want experiences. They don't just want to go out, they want something.
Yep.
That's what you provide.
That is what we provide. And we do have the short experiences. If you just have time over lunch to come, we have like the Clue card game, which 10 minutes, your game is over. So we have a variety. And we also do a lot of off-site stuff. And this is kind of the big, exciting stuff. So this is 100 characters. These are the original plays, the original events. And so we create 100 characters for large either fundraisers or just fun things. So March 21st at the Majestic, it's Havoc from Hollywood at the Majestic. And it's a group of Hollywood makers and doers,
right,
who go off site to do kind of this underground award show. So it's not as sparkly as, say, the Emmys or.
Wait, and you say 100 characters, so there's different.
There's 100 unique characters.
So if I show up, do you like give me something and you're like, this is your character, study it, learn it, this is who you're
actually
gonna be?
I would recommend that you do that ahead of time. So there's 24 main characters, and those people need to register a couple weeks ahead of time because there is some material. You get a dossier. If you're an undercover cop, you got your little badge that we provide you. You know, all kinds of stuff like that. It's really, really
That's
nice.
Cool.
It's fun. And then we have the peanut gallery and the sleuths, and you could just buy your ticket the same day and adopt your character, and off you go.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's the first time we've done it at the Majestic, and
that's kind of a cool venue for it too.
It's a fantastic venue.
That's really cool.
So exciting. And then the following month, it's like back to back these huge events. We're doing a fundraiser for Activity in Philomath, which is the creative space there.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's called the Hater Art Caper. So there's no murder in this one. It's an art caper, so it's about forgeries and the black market, stolen artworks, and the whole world related to artists in that way. And it has an actual fundraising component, which is a silent art auction.
So let me ask you this: how this obviously these places are cool, and if you haven't been to the Conundrum House, you should go check it out. It really is it's
awesome.
Yeah, it's just cool.
It's fun.
How'd you get into this? I mean, this isn't like, your standard, like, oh, I'm going to open a restaurant. Oh, I'm going to do this. You're like, no, I'm going to go this completely just
bizarre, kind of off the track.
So is this something this is you?
It's not just me. So about 30 years, it was in the 80s and 90s, there were those classic bookcase games. And we bought one, and it was a lot of fun. I think it was 6 characters. It could have been 8. I can't remember exactly. But you didn't really know who you were at that time, and you didn't know your background. You didn't even know how you related to the other characters until you showed up for the dinner. And for me, that just wasn't enough. I wanted to be immersed in my character. I wanted to come in character. I wanted to know if I hated you, if I loved you, if I've used you, all of those things, and vice versa.
Right.
And so I wrote my first mystery.
What was it called?
It was called The End of Time, which is the one we're doing New Year's Eve.
Okay.
The End of Time, and it was written, the first one was written for 8. We now have 12 characters, and everything was based on food. So we had Al Capon, Roxy Red Pepper, Ginger Bee Red, etc.
Right.
And the person who got murdered was the great sage Rosemary and Thyme. Big Simon and Garfunkel fan.
Yeah.
And it's very funny. We've performed it, I think, 3 or 4 times this year already. So
now when you say you perform it, so you obviously don't just give them and then leave. You're part of it. You're each time, or you sort of facilitate it. How's that work?
It's in table games or in RPGs, you have what are called game masters.
Okay.
It's very similar to that. So the game master isn't necessarily orchestrating the story, but they're making sure that all the information that needs to come out comes out, etc. So it's the normal people playing all of the big parts. Okay. And then myself, my husband Mark, sometimes we have like for the big ones, we'll have a half a dozen actors working with us. That's cool. They're not there to ham it up. They're there to help you ham it up. Right. And get the information out, et cetera, et cetera.
So you see all these things like these activities like escape rooms and stuff like that now showing up. But this is really something that you could bring if you're, if you have a place of business, if you have a team or something. Yeah,
great team building. Great family bonding, too.
Oh, yeah, that might be kind of cool.
Yes, really great for families.
So if you're tired of your family over Thanksgiving, or if you're dreading what the heck to do with your mother-in-law when she comes over,
oh, my God.
These guys would be a good one. Maybe. Maybe. They'll look after mother-in-law for a while.
That's right.
It's really cool. It's so I think we had it was one of my first greeters. When was it? Back in July or something?
Yeah, it was July.
Yeah, it was coming in, and just a great old space, and I mean that like in a nice way. It's like an old space, right?
It is an old space. We're in a building downtown where Castor Restaurant is on the lower deck, and we're upstairs in the second floor, and you have to find us, we're a secret too.
That's part of the mystery.
It's a little mystery.
Yeah, that's very cool.
But yeah, so you come and hang out with us up there. We've got about 750 square feet, and it's split into two parts. One is the game room part, and then the other side has a little space for my office, but it's the lab for the forensics.
That's what weirded me out. Like, that's where all the blood and hair and stuff
That's right, that's exactly.
And it's like real.
It's real.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, we just got some fake stuff. Oh, by the way, do you see the new movie coming out, Knives Out?
No.
So there's a new movie. It might actually be out this week. It's with Daniel Craig, James Bond guy.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Knives Out, but it's based on Clue. It's based on the game Clue. So it's kind of like everybody shows up, for a weekend, and then somebody dies, and then... Anyway, it made me think of, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm doing this thing today. So, yeah, I didn't know if you'd seen it or not.
No, I haven't.
Kind of a cool thing. Anyway.
I'm a little buried.
Yes.
In my startup right now.
Yeah. You are a little busy.
A little busy.
So this other part of Chamber Chat that we do, obviously, we start talking about, obviously the business, and we want to make sure that we recognize what you guys are doing and where you are and all that good stuff. But we want to know about people behind the business.
Of course.
Because that's really what matters, right?
One would think.
Well, I mean, you buy from people.
You do.
So if you're a psycho, they don't want to be you.
Or they might.
In
my business.
Your line of work, the crazier you are, the better. Yes. Don't come across too normal today, okay?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you might lose business
Blah.
for the first time. So, yeah, I got some questions I want to ask you. I'm sure you've done your prep work, but for the dozens of people who are going to be watching this, I want to make sure, they know a little bit about you, about the person behind the business. I always start with this one. Favorite food?
Oh, I've been thinking about this. It used to be sushi.
Wait, have you done homework?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
All right. So it used to be sushi.
A big part of my job is research, don't you know?
Oh.
A lot of research.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, but it used to be sushi and sashimi.
Okay.
And now I'm just not sure. I mean, I love a good steak.
Ooh, it's hard to be a good steak.
Yeah, and asparagus on the grill.
I tried to do grilled asparagus the other day, and it failed, but I agree.
Yes.
Grilled asparagus
when you do it right,
is awesome.
It is very, very good.
My wife's a vegan, so we don't get steak very often. I mean, we can still have it. It's not like it's a rule or anything. But,
sure.
You kind of want to make something everybody can eat, and a steak is not
it, no.
No. What's your favorite cut?
Prime rib.
Yeah.
Or ribeye. Around the rib area.
Somewhere in the middle
there seems
area.
to be a theme around
somewhere
the
in the
ribs.
middle. What's the one thing that you would never or did and will never again eat? If I was like, here, try this, and you'd be like,
when I was in Korea.
Oh, this is already going to be bad.
When I was in Korea, I was a journalist, and my photographer and I were invited out into the country. So out to the country we go, and we stopped. The hosts were fantastic. I mean, They took us places nobody got to go.
Yep.
But there was this one beautiful little restaurant that was literally built over a stream.
Oh.
And our table was over part of the running stream, and it was right on the ocean.
Okay.
And the chef came out, and he caught a squid out of the water.
Wait, like right there?
Right there, flopped it on the table, cut it all up in a bunch of pieces really fast.
Shut your face.
No.
Really?
And then, and of course, because...
You gotta be polite.
Not just polite, but we were women, myself and my photographer, we were women, and our hosts were men. There was no way we were gonna back down. No way. But...
So you choked it down.
Well, it crawled up my chopstick first.
Shut your face. Wait, when they cut it out,
the nerves are still alive.
Oh, yeah.
And so I reached in to get a tentacle, and it crawled up. It started curling up and so I'm like daubing it in soy sauce, hoping it would die.
Trying to drown a tentacle.
Yeah, it didn't work so good. So anyway, yeah, in my mouth it went and down. Like I didn't chew it or anything. It was just down.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's not great. What? Well, first off, wait, we missed the main part of this story. You were a journalist in Korea?
Yeah.
What? Okay. Give me some more. Come on.
Okay. My former husband, who is also a very good friend of mine.
Okay.
And one of the first writers in my murder mysteries, he was in the Air Force, and we were stationed in Okinawa. And there wasn't a lot for pregnant women to do.
Yeah.
There, and we lived off base, and so I'd always wanted to create a magazine, so I went to work for the weekly that was there. So it was a Japanese, what was it? This Week in Okinawa.
Okay.
So it's an English language magazine published by a Japanese publisher. All of the keyboards.
Korea.
No, it was in Japanese, but I got to go all over because of the military. So I focused on personality pieces. And so I was sent all over the island, and then if I would go to the mainland or to Korea or wherever, I would go on assignment.
That's cool.
Yeah, and so...
Well, this kind of dovetails in with my next question then. Let's just say we'll take Korea off the table then. Where's the best place you've ever been? Your favorite place?
Okinawa.
Can't say. You can't. No.
Okinawa, Japan.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Why?
It's a small island in the middle of this jewel of an ocean.
Yeah.
The people reminded me, so I grew up on the reservation in South Dakota. So
it's a little different than that.
Well, no, it was very alike.
Really?
So yes, because the people I grew up with, the Lakota people, are very multi-generational.
Right,
Everybody participates. It's just this really amazing culture. Well, when we went to Okinawa, it was the same. So the indigenous Okinawans have a very similar tribal setup.
Yeah.
And we got adopted immediately by our next door neighbors.
That's cool.
And so I spent 3.5 years with my neighbors. We started publishing our own magazine over there. It was a full color magazine, and she took us, she was our cook, so she did all these amazing meals, and we did stories on it and whatnot. And
see, I think most people would associate, or at least know Okinawa from like Second World War type thing. But obviously, it's a long time ago, and things evolve and change, and
things kind of evolve and change. It's a huge part of their history, and it was one thing that the weekly I worked for did not really deal with, was what was the historical context of this island, and Okinawan
because it's a pretty
people,
famous island.
And it's been overrun by everybody, by the Chinese, by the Japanese, by the French, by the English.
Not us.
And somehow they have maintained.
We did it to help them prosper.
Oh, let's not go there. I thought we were supposed to talk politics or...
England has all we've tried to do is educate everybody around the world, and you're welcome.
And along with the Jesuits.
Former colonists, former colonials, thank you. You are welcome. What about bucket list place?
Bucket list.
Somewhere we haven't been.
Vietnam. Cambodia.
Have you, do you know Ben Danley? From community outreach?
No.
So he's been over there a bunch of times, and he was kind of in that same like Southeast Asia kind of, that's somewhere that he really wants to go. Why do you want to go there? Just more of the same, not quite the same, obviously, but
not quite the same. I mean, I found myself at home in Asia.
Okay.
I don't know why, and it didn't matter what country I went to. I was always welcome. I always found a family. It was just an incredible experience for a young 20-something mom.
Oh, I'm sure.
And they love children. Well, everybody loves
kids.
Children.
One experience for the kids as well, right?
Oh yeah. So my daughter's first language, of course, was Japanese, because we hung out with the Japanese and with the Okinawans all the time.
Yeah.
And when we finally moved back to the States, she was 3.5, and she was blonde, bright blue eyes, platinum blonde.
Stood out a little bit.
Baby hair, yeah. And we're going through the store in Astoria, Oregon, actually. And I'm speaking to her in Japanese because she didn't understand English as well as Japanese. And people would just stop and stare at us because, what is this little 3-year-old?
Sure.
Japanese. What are these women doing?
Actually, I used to live in Astoria, and there's actually a pretty decent sized Japanese population in Astoria, which is kind of cool. Hey, when you were younger, right? you probably didn't grow up and think, I would, or maybe you did. I want to start Conundrum House. I want to do. What did you want to be? If you weren't doing what you were doing now, what did you want to be? What did 7-year-old you want to be?
Gosh, do I even remember? I mean, I've had such an extraordinary life, and I think really what I wanted was adventure. And
like Amelia Earhart type event, just get out and go kind of deal.
Kinda,
I mean, probably with a better ending, maybe.
Well, yeah, a better ending is always nicer.
Yes, other than nobody knows where.
But I mean, sorry, we moved from Virginia to the reservation. My grandfather owned the museum there, and I fell in love with the idea of telling stories through artifacts, and then using things like the museum or art or storytelling to not just tell a story, but create a future. And that's what he did with the museum.
All right.
And so adventure was really about what's next, right?
Not about where you are there.
Well, it is about where you are, but it's also what's next.
Okay.
And how can I take what I found here and take it someplace else? And so I've just been that kind of adventurer forever, and I tell stories wherever I go, and I do artwork wherever I go, and I do photo,
That's cool.
Because people are amazing. I don't care where you go in the world.
Yeah.
People are incredible.
Yeah. It's funny because obviously I grew up in Europe, so you get to do a lot of traveling, and as small as Europe is physically, I guess, so many different cultures within that. But but I find the same over here. You mentioned earlier you grew up on a reservation?
Yes.
How was that?
That was the darker part of my life.
Okay.
So the highlights were the horses, my friends.
Sure.
The dark side was the poverty, the abuse, all of that stuff that especially children were facing, and I was a kid at that time. And then when I was 12, we lived at Wounded Knee in South Dakota. The American Indian movement came in and took our family hostage. And so I had that experience as well.
Smokes. I was going to say, how was that? But probably not great.
Let's say that it has formed
who you are today.
Who I am today and what I do. And not the murder so much.
Yes.
But I just installed an art show up in Lake Oswego. It's a one-woman show, which is just daunting to me. But, but I did a lot of work in prisons using art to help people transform their lives. And I've worked with kids at risk. And so it's stories about how art really seriously does transform people's lives.
Wow,
and so that's a big part of what I do in the world. And Conundrum House is really a personal expression. It's like a way to just have fun that isn't quite as serious, even though it's a serious topic, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. If you
and I get to be creative, so
that, which is important.
Yeah.
If you could meet somebody in the world right now, somebody alive, somebody famous, who would it be and why?
Who would it be?
This silence is video gold.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. We can edit this out, right?
No, there's no editing. That's the great part. That's the best part.
That's the best part. The next family that adopts me, that's who I want to meet.
All right.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of famous people that come to mind, but I would like to go to, let's say, Wales. And
it's a cool country. It's a cool country.
Go to Wales and walk down the street and make a friend with somebody, and then go home and be their adopted American.
You're just okay. All right, that's as good an answer as I've had on this. I was not expecting that, but yeah, that sounds great. What about somebody in history? Somebody who's dead, somebody from long time ago, recent history. You decide. Who would you like to meet and sit down, have a cup of tea with? Because we do tea, because we're civilized people.
Have a cup of tea with. I would like to have a cup of tea with. Sitting Bull.
Ooh, that'd be a good one.
That would be really great.
Now, what would you ask?
I think I would listen. I think there would be a question of
why, what if, how?
Not why or what if, but who are you?
Okay. Okay.
And who do you want to be known as? And what is the story you want to be told about you and your people and this country?
So you have a little bit of experience with that sort of society.
Do.
Do you think do you think the story would change?
I think it would change dramatically.
Yeah? How so?
The history
Without
books,
getting too deep.
Well, I mean, history books are written not for indigenous people. It's not written for
the old cliche history books
women or kids. They're written by white
victors.
men. Yeah, the victors.
Yep.
And I think the story of Native peoples is very, very different than the story of conquered peoples.
Yeah.
And so I think what you would learn is about all of the humanness that we all share, that are in abundance in the Lakota people in particular, and the generosity and the love and how they deal with problems back then. I would have loved to have been able to be as diplomatic and I mean, what a super intelligent group of human beings that just about got wiped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Just incredibly, what is it, you know, when you're not a diplomat, but you're, I can't think of the word.
But I
Statesman.
Okay.
Very just eloquent.
When it should have,
thinkers.
when it would have been, or should have been, or could have been, so easy not to be.
Yes.
You know?
But that culture is not to not be. The culture is never, wasn't, or at least what I grew up with, was not about one-upping anybody or being dominant or any of that. It was about being self-expressed as a human being.
Right. Yeah, it's funny because, like, growing up in England, you know, I read history books. We didn't do a whole ton of American history, but it was very much it was not painted how I've come to at least understand what I do understand about it. You know, it was not painted that way. It's obviously, it's a lot different story.
It is. I mean, it would be the story of genocide.
Yeah,
that would be the story we'd be
it's
telling.
the cowboys and Indians, right? It's kind of like, you know, the Indians were, you know, needed to be controlled and needed to be put in their place because they were stopping expansion, and so so it's not a good story.
No, it's not, and it's a story the world over.
Yeah.
It's, you know, it doesn't matter what your skin color is or what your language is or what food you eat. You have a version of that story.
You're very passionate about this.
Oh, I am.
Have you thought about working this, or maybe you have, working this into Conundrum House?
Not Conundrum House. We do a lot of projects, and I have one called Uncover Our Hearts, and it really is wrapped around the experience at Wounded Knee, not just my experience and my family and the whole community there in '73, which was devastating.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other story. But 1880, which was the last massacre during the Great Westward Expansion. And the story I want to tell is one of reconciliation, which the show that I set up in Lake Oswego is a reconciliation show.
Oh.
And
where's it at? If anybody in Lake Oswego wants to see it,
it's at Christ Church. It's the first time I've been there. I don't have the address. Go to conundrumhouse.com/Adrienne, and I'll put a whole bunch of links there for you.
All right, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and then you can go check out all these different stories. But the reconciliation piece is really interesting in that when you think of reconciliation, it's about becoming friendly again with someone else. Well, I don't think that's the only aspect that I'm interested in.
Right.
It really is about being truthful about what happened, how it happened, and the consequences of that.
Right.
And then who are we as a community? Because we're not separate anymore. We're not.
Yeah.
Who are we as human beings as we move forward, and how do we want to?
Nice.
Not just preserve, but grow.
I like that.
From all of those things, and so Uncover Our Hearts It's an allusion to Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. The original name of the project was Uncover My Hearts at Wounded Knee, or Hearts at Wounded Knee. But it really is about telling my story and then the story of anyone else who wants to tell their story related to that area, those experiences, because many stories have been suppressed.
I have no doubt whatsoever that's the case.
And once you tell your story, it makes a huge difference, not just for you, but for the people who are hearing your story. So. And
they can find that at your website. Speaking of your website, and as we wrap up here, if people want to get a hold of you and they want to schedule a party, schedule an event, or just learn more about what you do, how do they do that?
Go to conundrumhouse.com. That's the best place to start.
Okay.
And then from there, if you go to my page, I'll give you links to some of those projects that we talked about.
Nice.
Yeah.
This has been cool.
Awesome.
Like I said, well, the first time I went into your place, I was like, this is a cool place. This is like, it's such an unusual business, and I'm super glad you were able to make it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry I stood you up last week.
We won't mention that part. No. That's all right. Thanks for coming out. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
We will see you guys on another episode of Chamber Chat.
Ciao.